Stop being a victim in a victim world. My wife and I were traveling back from Florida, and we were on a plane, and we were pulling in late at night, and everyone was tired, babies were crying, everyone just did not want to be on the plane. And right when we landed and taxied in, and the big arm thing came over and hit the plane, everybody started getting up. And my biggest pet peeve happened. The people that were probably 3 or 4 rows behind us. And my wife and I were in the back of the plane. We forgot to check in, and we checked in last minute, got the worst boarding group, and the people 3 to 4 rows back got up and sprinted up as far as they could, and they were stuck right behind the people probably in the row before us. So we have these people, and they have big bags that are like hitting up against me. So I'm like sitting like this, and I'm so frustrated because this is my biggest pet peeve, because that lady, I'm being a victim here. This lady is standing next to me, taking up my space. She's saying, hey, even though I was 3 rows behind you, I don't care. I'm getting up. I'm getting out of the plane. My time is more important than your time. And it frustrated me so much. I was patient. I didn't do anything. But right when we got off the plane and we're walking to check our bags, I was just complaining and complaining and complaining to my wife. I'm like, how could she do this? How could she cut off everybody? What is she doing? Why are people so disrespectful? I am a victim. Blah, 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 all the way until we get our bags. I'm complaining about it. And my wife finally looks at me and she says, listen, we've talked about this before. Winners take responsibility. They take responsibility for things that they can't control. Could you have controlled that lady got up and cut everybody off and was disrespectful to you? No, you couldn't. She was going to do it the second the arm touched the plane, even though you're not supposed to get up until they tell you to, right? But she got up, and you can't control it. You can't control people. You can't change the way people behave. You should expect it. You can't control it. You should expect people to let you down. It's the way the world is. Let's not get in the game of solving the problems that people have, because you're never going to solve that problem. People are never going to change, and they're never going to become a better person. There's 7 billion people on this planet. You can change a couple, but you're not going to change all of them. People are going to cut you off. People are going to cut you off in line. They're going to be disrespectful to you. They're not going to be nice to you. Let's face it, people are horrible. So what winners do is they say, okay, I'm not going to get in the game of changing people, because that's exhausting, and a lot of people have tried it. Jesus tried it, and they killed him on the cross. So let's not get in the game of changing people. What we need to do is we need to solve the problem. And there's 2 ways in which you can solve the problem of not being a victim, but being a winner and becoming a more bulletproof person. So when something happens to you, it doesn't do what it did to me, where I'm complaining about it for 30 minutes. It ruined 30 minutes to an hour of my day. I was so upset. So what I need to do is I need to change my circumstance, or I need to change my mindset. So to change my circumstance, you have to take responsibility for what's happened to you in the past, and you got to say, it's my fault. It is my fault that the lady cut me off in the airplane. How could I prevent this from happening? Well, I could have checked in on time. I could have checked in 24 hours in advance like I'm supposed to. Would have probably been in the A boarding group instead of the C boarding group. But I didn't check in, so it's my fault. She wouldn't have been able to cut me off if I was in the A boarding group. Another circumstance I could have changed, I could have paid for the VIP first class, first one on the plane, right? I could have paid for that. I could have paid to avoid the scenario where I would have been a victim, or an event happened to me that I thought was disrespectful. This can happen in anywhere in your life, right? You go to a restaurant, you're like, oh, I'm so excited. So excited to eat Chili's, right? You're going to Chili's. Chili's doesn't take reservations. So you go to Chili's, you pull up, there's people waited out the door. And you're like, daggone it, how could they? Like, you're blaming everything else. If we would have got there faster, if you would have got ready, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter, take responsibility. You should have went to a restaurant that has reservations. Even if you go to the restaurant and the restaurant has reservations, Sometimes they forget your reservation, they fill your table. What are you gonna do? Well, maybe you should buy a restaurant. If you don't like your plane being delayed, buy a plane. Solve the problem. I understand that a lot of people will never buy a plane. Completely understand that. That's extreme measures. But what I'm saying is, if you can't change the circumstance, you can't buy a plane, you can't buy your own restaurant or have your own chef. If you're sick and tired of waiting, dealing with horrible waitresses, waiters, right? Instead of saying, hey, nobody wants to work hard. Trying to change people, armchairing it, armchair complaining, that's what I call it. You're sitting in your chair complaining about how the world should be, even though the way the world is, you should probably change yourself. And by doing that, if you can't change your circumstance, not everybody can buy a restaurant, buy a plane, you gotta change your mindset. You gotta change your mindset. You gotta say, hey, I cannot change the fact that I cannot buy a plane. Can't buy a plane. And maybe I can't change the fact that I can't buy a first class ticket. Fine, it's expensive. I don't fly first class. I think it's pointless. My point is, I'm sitting in coach, I'm sitting back there. Okay, my mindset should have been in this circumstance, hey, I expect the person 3 rows back to be disrespectful, to run up when the plane is parked, hit me with their bag, and it's okay, it's expected. I should be ready for the disrespect. I should be ready to be almost offended. And by changing your mindset, you're saying, hey, I'm not gonna let this thing bother me. I know that when I go out into the world, things are not the way should be, but they are the way they are going to be. You cannot manage people throughout your day. People are people. People are gonna be disrespectful. They're gonna do things that you're like, I can't believe they did that. But you should start believing it. You should start believing that people are not going to be great. Instead of being a victim, we live in a world where everybody's complaining about everybody. I can't believe they did this. I'm offended, I'm offended, I'm offended. It's all over the place. Well, why is it important that you either change your circumstance or you change your mindset? Because it's a far better life to be positive and to be bulletproof, right? It ruined 30 minutes. I was complaining all the way to the baggage claim to my wife. It ruined part of my day. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have gone through the day where it ruined your entire day because somebody was disrespectful, that you were a victim, right? Victim takes time away. What winners know, the winning mindset says, hey, doesn't matter what happens to me, I'm bulletproof. You can cut me off, I expect it, it's fine, it's the way the world is. I don't care, I'm not gonna let it ruin my day. Mine is going forward, it doesn't matter. Right? If you're driving, you can't afford to have somebody drive you around, and you're driving, you have to do that, expect bad things to happen to you. And it's a far better life, going through life, not having things ruin your day. You only have so much time on this planet. Your time is limited. Stop wasting your time being a victim and reacting to society. You're reacting to people cutting you off. You're reacting to somebody being disrespectful to you. Stop reacting to it. Stop letting them have rule over your life. And it's a loser mentality being a victim. So many people have their day ruined because one thing happened to them. Could you imagine going through that before we had technology? Could you imagine going through a day when we didn't have electricity, AC, and things were trying to eat you, things were trying to kill you? Could you imagine the problems that we have today? People in our past would laugh at. So we either got to change our circumstance or change our mindset. When you change your mindset, you're bulletproof. Nothing can change your positive attitude, your day that's going. Nothing can. You're taking responsibility for everything. That's what changing your mindset is. You're saying, hey, I ran outside to get in my car and it's wet. I got my hair all messed up. It's raining like crazy. It's raining. Take responsibility. You should have went outside before it was raining. You should have brought an umbrella outside. Take responsibility for things that you can't even control, because the most things that happen in your life you can't control. You can't control somebody cutting you off. You can't control the weather. You can't control the way the politics are. You can't control taxes. You can't control all these things. Take responsibility for it. Oh, I got a ticket. I got a $300 speeding ticket. I can't believe it. Take responsibility. You shouldn't have been speeding. Dang it, I don't have enough money saved up to buy that thing I really want. Take responsibility, start managing your money better. When you take responsibility, what you can do in your life is you can start to acknowledge things as your fault. And when you look at things and you say, hey, it's my fault, raise my hand, it's my fault, that means you could say, hey, I'm gonna start working on myself to change those things. And when you start changing those things in your life, you start managing your money better. You don't get upset and complain to your family and you become the negative miser in your house because Chili's is backed up by 45 minutes, or you got on a plane and a baby's crying behind you. You know what? Take responsibility. Take responsibility and try to change your circumstance, get better seats in the theater, get better seats on a plane, manage your money better so you can go to the nice vacation instead of the cheap one where people are rude and disrespectful. Take responsibility. And if you can't do that, then you got to change your mindset. Lead by example in your family. When you lead by example and you change your mindset, your family starts doing it too. Nobody wants to be around a victim. Nobody cares about your problems. Nobody does. And quite frankly, I've heard that either half of them are glad you have your problems, and the other half simply just don't care. They don't care about your problems. So the best way to go through life is with a positive attitude, bulletproof to the things that are happening to you, because things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. People are going to be disrespectful. Change your mindset, and when you change your mindset, take responsibility for everything negative that happens in your life, and then look at ways in which you can move forward past that to limit that disrespect. Limit the things that you can't control. And if you can't improve some things, it's okay. Your mindset's bulletproof. But what you can't do is you can't continue to be a victim in this world, because you're never going to move forward. And you're going to wait for the stars to align for something positive in your life to happen. And let me tell you, ain't nobody going to give you the life that you deserve. Nobody, no politician, no friend, no significant other, nobody's going to give you the life that you deserve. You have to stand up and you have to say, hey, that's it. Fed up with being a victim, fed up with the world pushing me around. That's it. I'm standing up and I'm making my own way, shoving things out of the way, getting my mindset right, changing my circumstances, and getting on the right path to become who you should become. So stop being a victim in a victim world.